things we can eliminate
Correct.
as
You can
based
go
on what's
reverse. You
needed
can't go
on the
forward.
ground.
To help the discussion, again, the contract's before you for approval, which was the base contract. The gentleman who's here already acknowledged that he'd be fine with the fill issue, so apparently you have to go back to your engineer and make sure that's okay. But to mesh what everyone has said together, and especially what Councilmember Jablonski just said, is your motion is to approve the contract and to complete the construction of that northwest quadrant, north to northwest quadrant under the contract, but to bring back the remainder of the plan to the Parks Board to relook at it, and then whatever recommendations they make to finalize the plan, to bring back to the council for final approval for the remainder of the plan. And that way your whole minutes are clear as to the direction, rather than now, which is, how do we get this plan? I have no idea, we've never seen this before.
Right, right, thank you, Keith. So, and I think that's a good summary of it. I think that kind of summarizes what we've all been saying. Is everybody in agreement with that? Doug?
Yes.
Yep.
I do have one question, and maybe
Okay.
this is more for Keith than it is for Andy. We're going to award a specific bid. It's got in there fill. Is he, if we decide we don't need that fill, can we actually cut that number?
Yeah, it can be pulled out. It was all itemized within the bids itself.
That's all legally correct?
Yeah,
I'm
you
just trying to
can pull it
understand the
out.
process, that's all. Okay,
That's not a problem.
okay.
Do we need to change the motion at all from what we originally?
I would prefer it to be more in the lines of what I just
All right, so
stated.
can we withdraw the original second in the motion?
Yeah, I'll withdraw my second.
I can withdraw the motion.
Okay.
Okay.
So with that motion withdrawn, we need a new motion.
What would the motion we would make?
Sure. Again, it would be a motion to approve the contract. And I would make it clear in this motion as well, that the contractor has offered to spread the additional fill if the town desires and if the engineering permits it. And that the remainder of the plan be sent back to the Parks Board for review and to make final recommendations, and that the final plan will come back to the council for final approval.
And and the way I'll word it is, I'll make that motion that Keith just recommended.
I'll second it with information, Keith. When you say go back to the, what are we talking about going back to the board?
You're talking about everything except for the area that's being constructed,
In other
so
words, do
the
we have
area-
to go back to the board before this gentleman can get
No.
started?
No.
Oh, okay, that's what I was worried about, okay. No. I have no problem going back to the board as long as it don't hold
Anybody
us
want to
up.
second what?
Freddie seconded it.
Okay.
I have a question on the motion. What if the engineer comes back and says, no, you can't raise that 6 feet because you're going to do this?
We don't-
Yeah, or this,
that's
you know,
what
or
we're-
sorry,
this is
6
what we're
inches.
doing.
Yeah, I said 6 feet, that's right. But, you know, what if there's a detrimental thing that we don't know, you know, do we,
Then we stay with what we have.
Yeah,
We
I
just
think
stay
we
away.
with what we have, right.
It's a good.
If they tell us for some reason we can't do it,
I'm
then-
no engineer.
Yeah.
You know, maybe if I raise that thing 6 inches, I've thrown the whole plan off.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm just making a suggestion, that the engineer tells us, will that work?
Right.
You know, if not, we're gonna have to live with it, what it's at. But if there is a possibility that we could raise it and it would work, I would.
so it's just predicated by the engineer?
Good point. Okay, any other discussion?
Mayor's still on the phone or no?
Mayor, do you have any other discussion?
No, obviously there's a consensus on the northwest corner, Steve, and, defer to the engineers with regards to that fill and then the upgrades, the drainage issues, and then turn it back over to the Parks Board, let them assess it, deliberate, and come back with a recommendation to council. No problem with the motion.
Okay, great, thank you, Mayor. All right, Erica, can you call the question, please?
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Yes.
Councilmember McKay?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Okay, next item is a discussion item, and it focuses on the town landscaping. We certainly have had it's the growing season, it's the rainy season, and we certainly have gotten a lot of feedback that the landscaping is not being kept up to date. It's in not good shape. I know this is something, Andy, that you've been working on, and we've talked about it. You've got some different alternatives and options, ways you are considering going, so why don't you kind of walk us through those, and so we're all on the same page.
Sure, thank you, Vice Mayor. If I can introduce the topic, there's some information that I had furnished you all previously and something else I just brought you now. And let me just kind of recap those numbers certainly for those people who are listening. Our contract with Luke's Landscaping expires in August of this year. That was a 3-year contract. It allows for a 2-year renewal at 100% our discretion. Contractor has no say in that renewal. It's solely up to us to renew, and there's no provision for a raise in the cost. So that's where we sit. We recognize that we have some service issues with them, and so I wanted to, when I went back to 2010, the last time that was bid, and I pulled the numbers because I wanted to see what we're talking about. And the original bids were broken into rights-of-way / medians, and then parks and other. So the combined bid from Luke's Landscaping back in 2010, and this is before we took over Griffin Road, so I'll talk about that in a moment, but their combined bid was $123,977. The next lowest bid at that time was Elon Landscaping, which was $229,411. Then it was Prestige Property was I'll say the third lowest was $295,941. And the most expensive quote that we had at that time was $442,373. So Luke's was, understandable why they got the bid back in 2010. They were certainly the lowest price. Since that time, we've taken over Griffin Road. We've added some additional service levels. Last year, we added some additional cuts. For the parks, the rights-of-way and medians and parks and others, in a current fiscal year budget, we're budgeting $164,000. So to give you some idea where that growth is from their original 123, we're budgeting 164,000. The document I just gave you, which had the green, yellow, and blue, gives you some idea of what we spent with Luke's over the last 3 years, and that's broken into you'll see at the bottom, there's pros, Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Transportation numbers, and then there's some special projects as well. And the bottom number in the right-hand corner is what we've actually spent with Luke's based on the contract and based on special projects. And obviously, anybody that we had for landscaping contract would be doing, similar special projects. So we find ourselves now, I just wanted to give you an idea where the costs are and what we're getting and where those numbers compared to going back. This is a Munster contract to administer. I know December works very hard to try to ride herd on it, but there's an awful lot of components, as I know Councilmember Fisickelli has kind of dug into it a little bit more over the last couple of days, and I know he's going to have comments on it as well. But I wanted to give you a sense of what we're spending, certainly what's involved, and say to you that the point where we find ourselves now is we can continue to maintain the status quo. We can renew the contract with Luke's based on the price, and then we can work a little harder to make them hold true to what they need to do from a service level standpoint. And again, we recognize, there are challenges there, and it hasn't been where we'd like it to be. The third option that we would have would be if council determines that you want to go ahead and put it out to bid again, that's something we can certainly do. But, recognizing based on past costs where those bids might come in, I have some concerns with really each option. And that's why I wanted to bring this to you all tonight as a discussion item to get some sense. From a financial standpoint, I think our best option is to renew the existing contract and work harder on the enforcement end of it. But, I certainly know what you hear from the community and certainly wanted to open up the discussion this evening.
All right.
Yeah,
Did you-
I definitely just want to add something from a legal standpoint, and that is, your attorney drafted a wonderful contract, okay? Because, Because not only does it give the town the sole right to extend for 2 more years, but it also has great provisions as it relates to if they have not met your expectations and your ability to charge them back for their failure to meet the expectations. If anyone were to ask me, which no one has yet, so I'm going to throw it out there anyway, legally, what puts us in the best position? I would tell you 100% renew the contract. Hold them accountable to everything that they're required to do in the contract. And if they continue to breach the contract, then we go out to bid. You get a new vendor in and you sue Luke's for the difference between how much they agreed to do it for and what the new contract cost is. If you do anything outside that order, you lose your legal ability to do it in that manner. And that's why I just wanted to put that on the record now.
That's pretty simple.
Yeah, Freddie.
Yeah, Steve, like I say, I've been working with it, I've been working with Andy, and I've been working with December. Parts of our town are bad. Parts of it are good, parts of it are bad. I feel this gentleman has been taking advantage of our town. And I feel like Keith says, all we need to do is make sure this gentleman does what he says he's going to do. I think what he did, I think he low-bid this job to get it, and he's not doing what he said he was going to do. And we got a good contract saying he's got to do it. So I think it's our job to make sure the gentleman does it. And that's the way I feel.
I'd like to make a motion, if I may. I'd like to make a motion for us to extend the contract and to force it to its maximum ability that we have to do so.
I would like to clarify something that I said at the last meeting, and I was definitely wrong. Because when I got to look into some of this stuff, and I got Pete to give me some of the costs and everything, I was told something that was wrong. I was told that he didn't charge us unless he did the job. That's not true. He's got a contract saying he has to do so much every time. December's got all of the dates that he has, how many times a year he's got to do it, and he does that. And she charges him what he turns in bills for. So it's just our job to make sure that it's done right. That's all. And if he'll do it for 180, I think his new bid is 180.
164 is what we're budgeting
If
now.
he'll do it for that, we're not going to get anybody else to do it for that price. So
Right.
if we can get him to come in here and do what he's supposed to do for that kind of money, because I think the closest thing to him was what, 280 or something?
I
Yeah,
can jump in here.
229. Yeah,
Yeah,
about 100,000 more, so.
Doug's got a motion on the table, but he's got an enforcement arm to it. Is that more of an administrative function,
Yes,
Keith, as opposed to?
yes. Well, it's through Andy administrative, it's through Keith legally.
I'll second the motion.
I,
Fully step 1 now.
any other council comments? I'll say that, Mayor, do you have a comment?
He just hung up, but he sent me an email saying this is what he wants.
Okay, all right. I would say, I definitely agree with that course of action. I will say that my only hesitancy to it is that we've been trying to get Luke to live up to this contract for as long as we've had Luke there. And our town has not looked like we would like it to look for as long as we've had this contract. And so I suspect.
But we didn't have Andy, and we didn't turn him loose.
I know. I'm not disagreeing. I'm not going to say, I think it's the proper course of action, what we're talking about. But I am a little leery that I think what we're really doing is just subjecting ourselves to
Some more
another year or two of aggravation before
don't
we
think we have
finally
to-
get somebody in here that's going to do the job.
I don't think we have to wait that long.
So that's my only hesitant. But I don't disagree. I think we've got a motion on there. I don't think I heard a second. Is there a second?
Yeah, I second.
You did second? Okay. Is there any public comment? It's a discussion, but you know how it goes. We're Southwest Ranches here.
He just wrote me again.
We break the rules.
But you do if you have to. Okay. All right. Erica, we have a motion and a second on the floor. If you could call the roll.
Councilmember Jablonski.
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli.
Yes.
Councilmember McKay.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yeah, just for the record, Mayor Nelson, who just clicked off, sent me a quick email that says, I fully support the renewal and holding them accountable.
Oh, take that as a yes?
Yes.
Yes.
yeah.
All right, very good. All right, the next item on the agenda is approval of minutes.
So move.
Second.
Anybody have any comments, questions, corrections?
Yeah, I've got
Yeah.
one on that. Andy, did that one correction make it in there on the surplus?
Actually, I'm going to call on Erica, because I know she and I spoke about an amendment, to amending that one motion, did we?
Right, to add the
list.
report.
During the discussion on surplus items, the original motion called for giving the administrator up to $500 authority. It was amended during the council meeting to change it to $250 per item, $1,000 per quarter, and that was reflected in the minutes. But what wasn't reflected in the minutes, and we could certainly add that, and Councilmember Jablonski had actually pointed that out to me the other day, and I'm sorry that we missed that, was that there was also a provision added that when we surplus items, that council would be furnished with a report.
Right,
Yeah,
Good.
Written report.
good point.
So that, I think that needs to be amended.
I think it
Put in
should.
there.
Good point.
Reflect in there, because none of us are going to remember this.
Right, right. All right, very good. So the minutes will be amended to include that report.
Just for clarification, because I missed that one meeting, did you all amend the resolution to state that the council shall be, receive any written reports? Is that in the resolution itself, or is that just after the resolution?
I thought it was in the resolution.
I understood it as after the motion, you directed the administrator to provide a written report.
I think we'd have to watch the video, watch the DVD.
Okay, I would recommend just adding the one line in the resolution and calling it a day. You know, meaning that if that was the intent of the council, we haven't signed that yet.
No.
You know, we'll just.
I think it
put
was
that-
clearly the intent of the council.
Okay, so we'll just amend the resolution to state that all surplus items shall be in a written report furnished to the town council.
On a quarterly basis.
You want a motion on that?
Yeah, well, just to confirm you're amending everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I make a motion for that amendment that Keith just stated.
Instead of quarterly. Second.
Gary,
I'm sorry, the second, okay.
All
Councilmember
right.
Jablonski.
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli.
Yes.
Councilmember McKay.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz.
Yes. Okay, back to the minutes. Did we, I don't think we called the roll on that, did we?
For the minutes.
For the minutes?
Yes, as amended,
We did, okay.
yes.
All right. Adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right.